Foundational Yoga Poses series where we learn how to do each and every pose safely. My name is Anastasia. Today we'll be learning to practice downward facing dog, also known as Adho Mukha Svanasana. Let's get started. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the variations of the downward facing dog that we can use based on the potentially different restrictions that are there. So if you experience a lot of tightness in your shoulders or any restrictions, injuries or anything, then while you're in the downward facing dog position, you can do a couple of things. So first of all, you can widen your stance again, like I talked about previously, for those who might not find their crease parallel to the front of the mat. So the same thing, while you're in a downward facing dog, just widen the stance of your hands and rotate them upward about 45 degrees. That way you'll provide more space for your shoulders. Now, if you want to alleviate a little bit of the weight from your shoulders, you can try a couple of things. So you can try to put the block underneath your forehead, and then you want to play kind of with the length of the block here. So for some, maybe for taller people, it'll be a vertical stance of the block or horizontal like this, or maybe you want to put it flat. But you want to play with that, and your focus is going to be the strength of your back. So as long as your back is straight, then you should be good with whatever height of the block you come up with. So you want to play with that and just maybe try placing your forehead on the mat. That creates more of a restorative feel to it and alleviates some of the pressure off your shoulders. So you want to see how that feels. Maybe bend your knees a little more, see how that feels. You know, as long as your back is straight. And you can try a different length maybe. And again, unbend your knees if you can. And then going from there, maybe try seeing how that feels for you. On the other hand, if you have some issues with your wrists, maybe the flexibility is not there, or maybe there's injury or whatever it is, maybe you just don't feel comfortable with the pressure that the downward facing dog exerts on the wrists, just you can use some wedges for that, and you can just place your hands on the wedges and then go into the downward facing dog. Again, just have your knees bent first, and then see how that feels. It'll create a little bit more ability to straighten your legs here, because you kind of elevate your hands here. So if you use any type of elevation for here, it's good for your wrists, the way just like that. However, if you just want the elevation but still exercise your wrists a little more, then you can use your blocks here to lift it up. And again, you know, first start with the bent knees, but then attempt to straighten them and see how that feels. Just make sure there's lengthening in your back. Tailbone is drawing back and up, and then try to see if you can reach the mat with your heels. So here's some of the variations. If none of this works for you, then you can try an alternative pose called puppy pose. To get into the puppy pose, we're going to start in all fours, like we did with the downward facing dog, and then just slowly curl your fingertips towards the top of the mat, but keep your hips directly above your knees, and then place your forehead on the mat Again, this is the same goal, straightening your back. Okay, and from here just start pressing your hands into the mat, lifting up your elbows. So activating your arms a little more. And then you should be able to feel some stretching in your thoracic spine area, which is the upper part of your back. Now if you want to experiment with that, you can use some blocks for here as well. And that'll intensify your stretch here. So just use some blocks underneath your hands and essentially do the same thing. Now, if you want to activate your quadriceps a little bit more right here, quads, then you place your block between your thighs and then press it into the block between your thighs. And then place your forehead on the mat. You can have your blocks underneath your hands, or you don't have to. Okay, here's another variation. If you don't have blocks, you can just use your spiny fingers. The same deal, it also intensifies your stretch.